to go for a big shot or something. Just keep cutting that knife, and eventually they'll either get to where they can't hold the knife anymore, or they'll decide they got someplace else they need to be.
I think we just ran over time. So we'll talk to you later.
Your Second Amendment rights are under attack like no other time in history, and the Second Amendment Foundation needs you to take action now. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have pledged to make taking away your Second Amendment rights a top priority through gun bans, gun confiscation, government regulations, and even a gun tax. They have aligned themselves with anti-gun activists like billionaire Michael Bloomberg and appoint radicals like Beto O'Rourke as the anti-gun czar. The fight begins now with your text of Protect 2A to 474747. Text Protect 2A to 474747 to pledge your support and become a Second Amendment first responder. Your right to own a gun and protect your family are on the line. Text Protect 2A to 474747 and join the fight to protect your Second Amendment rights. Text Protect 2A to 474747 to pledge your support and become a Second Amendment first responder.
take your hand as you lift your face. Rise and take your place.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment. Concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection. And it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Dear Diary, day 83, still no ammo.
Still no ammo. That's exactly it. I'm telling you, we need a t-shirt. We definitely need a t-shirt. Well, I have to say that I have been, we typically, this section of the show, we talk about what we've been doing gun related. Well, I have been bagging and tagging and sorting and looking at ammo kind of like I'm Scrooge McDuck. Right? I don't know that I want to shoot it. I just want to sit and I want to run my fingers through it.
Well, it's 19 degrees outside, so it isn't really conducive to going out and shooting again too much. But, I've been kind of chained to my Dillon 650, just going at it, hand over fist, I guess is how they say it.
Making bullets. So we had made a bullet order in June to get us set up, and I don't know what we bought, 10,000.
And it finally came in. So now we right away went and made another order just so that we're ready for July.
So we had 1,000 of this and 1,000 of that, whatever that is, just to kind of get us started. And so now we've got some more. So we'll keep Rob chained to the reloader. But let's talk a little bit about, because I didn't do a lot of gun stuff besides the ammo stuff, because anybody who's following it, if you guys want to, please feel free to look us up on Facebook. You get an idea of what the two of us are up to. And most of it is gun related, but not all of it. And some of it is kind of adventuresome.
I've been watching the auctions lately. I mean, the prices are crazy. People are buying everything for whatever kind of money they just, when I got a stimulus check, I'm spending it all on.
Right, you've got something I've got. Let me just wave this money until I own whatever it is you've got. Right?
Prices will eventually go back down to normal, but until then, it's right now. It's like if you got it, somebody wants to buy it, and they'll pay crazy money for it. Also, if you're selling on an auction, pay attention, because they got auction fees and percentages and all this stuff that the average person's public school education doesn't explain to them.
Well, you don't think about, because there's a buyer's premium, there's a seller's premium, so there's all these different pieces that you've got to understand. Right. So in some cases, some auctions, you're actually paying 10% over and above the price, right?
Right. Some of them even more than that. I mean, I've seen them with as high as 23% for on top of whatever your bid price was. So it's shocking when all of a sudden I was planning on spending $750 and now it's 23% more. So
there you go.
It's like, they were 2 stimulus checks.
How did that happen? Right? How did that happen? So I know that you've been going to. I've been looking in my safe and trying to decide what I can part with, because maybe I have a couple of something.
I go to the gun shop to see what's there, because you never know when somebody's going to turn something old and weird in, and I'm always in the market for something.
I know, and you're not parting with anything. That's the thing.
I bought a little .22 rifle a couple months back. I want to get it out and sell it again, but there's a lot of things out there. If you know what you're looking for, there's money to be made, and even in this market, it's just finding that particular
thing, turning
piece
it,
of gold,
whatever, that piece
nugget.
of gold. But okay, so let's talk about that a little bit on the buyer beware side, because you've got a lot of contacts who contact you about stuff going, do you see what I see?
Well, I get
do you
people
see
send me pictures every day. I get pictures of what do I have? What did I get? I mean, what's these fit? You wouldn't believe. I mean, I just get pictures of magazines laid out on a bed, and they're like, what's this for? What's that for?
Now, I think my favorite was the time that you and I were at an auction, and you were bidding on something, and this other guy bid and outbid you, and then he got it. And then he walked over to you and he said, okay, what did I buy? And you're like, what do you mean, what did I buy? And he was like, well, if you were bidding on it, I knew it was good. So I just needed to buy it.
It was a 1911 I needed parts off of, and he bought my parts gun, but whatever.
Right. So sometimes you have to know what you're doing. You have to know what you're looking for in that as part of it. So hey folks, we are definitely interactive on this show because we're on Facebook Live, we're on the Play Society. No, we're on the Self-Defense Radio Network. Sorry, Monday nights is Play Society. We are on the Self-Defense Radio Network. We are on the Eye on the Target Radio YouTube page. We are on Opsland. So we're all over the place. But if you want to post and have it show up so we can talk about it, please do so either on the Eye on the Target Radio YouTube page or on the Opslands page. Those are the two where interactive conversations can take place. But we'd prefer the Eye on the Target Radio YouTube page. And so Beth just came across saying she can't find ammo. Well, let me tell you, that is the big story. The other day,
I was at a gun shop the other day, and they were talking about ammo, and he was showing me his supplier had 380 ammo, but they wanted $2 per bullet for 380 ammo
from the supplier to the gun shop. So that says there's a shortage.
Because apparently they're going to keep that because nobody's going to pay that price plus a markup for me to sell it to them.
No. Well, we had been looking just the week before saying, wow, 380 ammo is $1 a bullet. That is crazy. And then in this case, your gun shop, your local gun shop, cannot even buy it for $2 a bullet. That's like 2.5 times crazy.
That's why you have 30 different pistols. So no matter what bullets you happen to find, you can put it in one of them pistols you got.
Right. So you can switch from this one to that one to the other one.
I may look kind of goofy with this old English pistol or this Dutch revolver I have, but it beats nothing.
It beats nothing. No, and the other thing is when there's not an ammo shortage, buy a box of bullets every time you go by the gun shop and just put it on the shelf. I tell this story a lot that I just buy kind of ammo whenever I see it and it looks good.
There's a lot of people who are not going to be caught with their pants down again. I mean,
well, that's what they said in 2008 and 2013. But then once again, there they were, sans pants, you know.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that I had a small supply of primers that kept me going through this, and I know that my next one's going to be bigger. So
small supply.
I'm going to throw all the stuff out of that spare bedroom and load it with primers. So
I'm sure that the fire department will love hearing that your reloading room is now expanded into a supply room and a reloading room.
When I told the wife I needed a milling machine, she went crazy. So when I tell her I need a tow motor, I can imagine what she's going to say.
But that would be that's upstairs. I'm just saying that's upstairs. So it may have to be the little pushy one, the hand cart. No, you have a 5-bedroom house for a reason, and 2 of them cannot be reloading rooms, right?
Why not?
Well, I guess the kids are moving out, so. There is that. But no, so pick up a box of ammo. My husband, I was digging through the safe one day and I was like, wow, I got this and wow, I got that. So I pulled all the ammo out of the safe and I stacked it in another place. And my husband came and he's like, where'd all this ammo come from? And I said, out of the safe. And he's like, no. Where did all this ammo come from? I'm like, well, the ammo store. Right? Every time I went by, I bought a box or 2. You don't go broke that way, and you're set, and you're good to go.
And it's not like you got ton of ammo like some people. I mean, we know some professional shooters, and they talk about getting a shipment of ammo with 140,000 rounds or something. To
Yeah, no, I'm not that.
The next 5 months or whatever.
Right. No, I'm not that. I mean, mine can fit in a reasonable size space.
Going to take the car out of the garage, that side of the garage, so you got room to put your ammo supply in.
No, I'm not that bad. I am really not that bad. I can haul it all at one time in my car.
I see so many people today that are like, oh, I'm going to start an ammo company. I'm going to do this. Right now, there's no primers. Gunpowder is really hard to get. Projectiles are tricky, but they're not as bad as other things. Brass also is something that if you want to start a brass making company, there's still money in that after the shortage is up, especially if you go into the more bizarre caliber stuff like I play with. So there's money in some of it, but some of it there's not, and it's so that's why these companies that are making it right now are just going full throttle, but they're not going to add an extra room on. They're not going to try to do something out of the ordinary.
They've expanded.
Once it catches up, then they'll be back to situation normal. Although they did get 2.5 million new gun owners in the last couple of months.
Right, but they've expanded from single shifts to multiple shifts to weekends to then, frankly, giving people breaks so they can do a hot bunk kind of switch.
I think some of it in the 70s, people had a gun, and there was people that went shot all the time, but a lot of people just had a gun. Mm-hmm. And other people, I think more people are going to get into this. It's going to be a more popular thing in the future.
More people are doing recreational shooting. There's more shooting games and all of that kind of stuff that's really happening.
So it's going to step up. They need to step up production to help with that.
Keep going with that. We'll be back right after this.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit
SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, folks, we are back with our history section. And so the history that we are going to talk about are Mausers.
Yep, two brothers that had a good idea. The Germans came out of the black powder age into the cartridge age with a really goofy little gun called the Dries needle gun. It actually used a paper cartridge or a sheepskin cartridge that the primer was inside the cartridge. And so you loaded in the gun, and the firing pin was a long needle that just poked a hole in it and got to the primer and finally set it off. And then.
Now, when you say it was a sheepskin, so they actually used leather a sheared piece of.
It was a real thin piece of leather, apparently, so that it would hold up under the battle situations.
Okay.
But yet, when they put it in the gun and closed the action, then it would then the needle had to go clear through it to poke a hole in the firing pin and the primer. Mauser had a better idea. They worked on the Model 71, which was had used a conventional looking cartridge like we know today. Centerfire. It was 11.15 by 60 millimeter, and it was it had a Mauser A base case, which is just a thick rim with a 45-degree angle on the back it's kind of specialized.
Okay.
It was a single shot design. The government liked it. They started buying them. Then in '84, they wanted to convert them to a repeater. So they put a tube magazine
in 1884.
Right. They put a tube magazine under the barrel and modified the 71s into the 7184 design.
Okay.
When the French come out with smokeless powder in around 1875, 1876, the Germans wanted to move into that, so they built this. They call it a 1888 Mauser commission rifle.
Okay.
But Mauser had nothing to do with it. It looks more like a Mannlicher than it does a Mauser. But Mauser got the blame, and but it helped him. Any publicity is good publicity.
Okay.
So he come out in 1889 with a modified version that he built, and the first of the turn bolts that actually had a magazine and stuff. The Belgians and some of the other South American countries like this. In 1891, he sold more rifles, and every year he'd make a better little modification to them. The Mausers that you recognize today, 1892 were the first of that particular style. They called them small ring, and they cocked on closing. The 92s, the 93s, 4s, 5s were all basically the same. In the 96, and then in 98, he came out with the best rifle ever. Up until into the 70s or even into the 80s, everything was held up against the Mauser 98. If you had a brand new bolt action rifle, was it as good as the 98? Was it as tough as the 98?
Well, isn't that amazing that it held up that way for 70 some years?
Right. It was when you look at the some of the English built really fancy custom rifles on it. The Germans built fancy custom rifles on it. Had safety in mind. It had 3 locking lugs, so 2 in the front, 1 in the back. So if the 2 in the front would fail, the 1 in the back would catch it. If the case head would separate or something and the gas leaked out. In the old days, it came down the rails of the action and then dug the eyes out of your head.
Oh.
So they put bleed off holes so that it actually went out the sides and didn't get you. And then also on the cocking piece, there's a big shield that kept it from coming down the bolt. It would right at 90 degrees to the bolt head.
Okay.
And it cocked on on opening, so the rifle was fast and easy to use, and it was super tough. Mauser figured a way to stack his bullets in there. That actually took them until just recently to figure the mathematical calculation of how he did that. But
really,
and the heat treating, he left the rifle actually soft inside, and he put a hard coating on it. And that made the rifles tough because if the hardened coating would start to crack, it would get into the soft piece in the middle, and that would stop the rifle from actually blowing up. Sometimes you'll see them where the rifle might have blown the bolt out of it, but it never gets past the third lug. It blows the bolt back into itself and catches it. So it was extremely safe and well thought out design. And like I say, it's they almost today is still is your rifle as tough and as fast and as light and as good as
a Mauser 98. So they created and produced the Mauser 98 design from when to when?
From 1898 until World War II. We put them out of existence. They they came back after the war with some different designs. They still occasionally make a run of 98s as a specialty for from the factory.
Okay.
But the original design, and they made millions of them for all different countries, and there was a lot of places that were licensed to make them. Everybody's got an old gun in the closet, and most of them are built on some type of Mauser action. And
so it was a Mauser design that was then this company built and that company built. But how did they label them then?
During the war, Germans actually weren't allowed to manufacture stuff because of the World War I thing. Mm-hmm. So they actually put codes on the top of so it may say like BYG or 606 or something on there. And these are the factory codes so that nobody knew exactly who built them, but they were able to
build them.
Right. And so there's after the war, everybody's gone through every piece of paperwork, and they've got it all. They know who made it, each part, and what they did, and how they did it, and stuff. But during the war, it was all top secret because they were not allowed to actually manufacture war materials, and so they didn't write Mauser right on the thing or something.
They didn't. Okay, so it was just so if someone's buying a vintage Mauser 98,
well, today you want one that is in its original period configuration. If it's been had the wood cut off or the barrel cut off or the sights changed, that affects the value greatly. But if you have one that is a World War I style gun or a World War II style gun that has not been fooled around with, don't sand it, don't varnish it, just leave it like it is.
Don't re-blue it.
But it's funny because during World War II, the Germans used plywood for stocks. If you look at it, it's a really fine grained plywood. And it was really tough. It was that way they didn't have to have good wood. They could just plane it down, glue it together, and then carve stocks out of it.
Right.
But in reality, it didn't warp, it didn't rot, it didn't do all the things that a normal gun stock did.
But people are like, it's not pretty. Well,
but it was super tough. And,
utilitarian. Hey, when we come back, we are going to have Dr. John Edeen from Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership. So DRGO is their website, and you're gonna love him. So we'll be back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit sillybillygoatfarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's sillybillygoatfarm.com. Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, krmaradio.com.
This is Dan Perkins with your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day. If you're a veteran with a disability, are you interested in a program that could give you a free home? Homes for Our Troops is a privately funded 501c3 nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post-9/11 veterans to enable them to rebuild their lives. These homes restore some of the freedom and independence our veterans sacrificed while defending our country and enable them to focus on their family and recovery. Since its inception in 2004, nearly 90 cents of every dollar has gone directly to the program to serve veterans. HFOT builds these homes where the veterans choose to live and continues its relationship with the veterans after the home delivery to assist them in rebuilding their lives. For more information, go to their website, www.hfotusa.org, and see if you can qualify for the home of your dreams. This has been your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day.
Folks, we are back, and with us is our guest, Dr. John Edeen. For the doctors, he is part of the Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership. And if you want to check it out, check out his website, drgo.us. And Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership is that they will help you have a doctor like I have, which is you go in there and they don't say, do you have a gun? They're like, what gun you carrying? right? I mean, it's a whole different conversation.
Yep, where can I get bullets?
Right. So having a Pro 2A doctor is a pretty amazing thing because it doesn't put you on the defense. I have a Pro 2A optometrist also, so it's kind of a cool world to be in. But Dr. John Edeen, thanks for joining us on Eye on the Target Radio.
Hey, it's great to be with you guys, and also to be able to talk to your audience.
Oh, well, great. So let's start with, fill us in a little bit. How did the Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership, DRGO, how did it get started?
Well, it got started back in 1994. Dr. Timothy Wheeler, who was the founder, president, and kind of number one guy since 94 till about 2016, when he has since retired and kind of passed along the mantle to a few other people. He saw what was going on in California. He's a California physician, and how the anti-gun people were getting all the attention, I guess, in the papers and everything else. And when he put stuff in that was pro 2A, it wasn't showing up. It was getting squished. It was being hidden. And he says, this is ridiculous. We can't have this. So, even in fact, this stuff had been going on since the 1980s. The public health folks have been going after your guns for that long, and it's become even more and more and more of a problem. In 1996, Dr. Wheeler and several other doctors and other professionals testified in front of the House Appropriations Committee, and they got the CDC defunded because for doing advocacy biased research against the Second Amendment and against guns. And that was called the Dickey Amendment, and that's still in effect. So when they say, the CDC can't do research against, for gun violence and things like that, that's not true. What they can't do is advocate for gun control, and because this is really what they're doing. And so if they want to do honest research, they're welcome to do it. But a lot of the research that they do is very dishonest, and all the people that were in charge at the time of the CDC and a lot of the other major journals were all anti-2A. And so all their stuff had a major bias, but especially the CDC. I mean, the leadership there was terribly anti-2A, and they used a lot of, let's say, marginal research, if you want to put it that way, using techniques. For instance, the Kellerman paper that said that you're 2.7 times higher if you have a gun in the home to be killed than if you don't. It was done in the inner cities of Chicago, I think Baltimore and Seattle. And what they did was they did match pairs. They matched up a murder victim with somebody similar in that neighborhood. Well, look at those neighborhoods. Those are high crime neighborhoods. A lot of the stuff was drug or domestic violent stuff. And so it was a very skewed population. It didn't represent the population in general. So they chose a very skewed population to start with. But then when they come out with this 2.7, this thing was repeated over and over and over again by the press. And so it became kind of the mantra.
If you repeat it enough, opinion becomes fact. And
exactly.
I've heard that one. I've heard those numbers.
That's right. And the problem is that it's a skewed population. And, what DRGO does is it takes papers like this, analyzes them and debunks them. And then we publish this stuff on our website. We do a blog twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we'll see some of that stuff. We'll have opinions stuff. Our writers are, doctors, other scientists, PhDs, and some of them are criminologists, some of them are public health people, we have psychiatrists, we have neurosurgeons, we have trauma surgeons, we have all kinds of people, and so we have a lot of people who write this stuff. But in order to be a member of DRGO, you don't even have to be a doctor or a scientist. You can be a regular person. We certainly welcome everybody to join.
Okay.
And you can join right on drgo.us. We are a Second Amendment Foundation organization, and so anything you give us is tax deductible. And we turn this around and we use it to debunk a lot of this biased research that you see. In fact, I like to call us the anti-Bloomberg School of Public Health, because you know that Bloomberg giving all that money to the public health school in Maryland, that they're not going to find pro-gun things in their research. Otherwise they're going to lose their money from Bloomberg, because Bloomberg wants to push the anti-Second Amendment position. So that's kind of where we started, and then we've been going on. Go ahead.
So if Bloomberg is giving a gift, so he's trying to get them to write do anti-gun, more anti-gun research, to write anti-gun papers. What exactly is he looking for with his investment from the medical? Okay.
Yeah, well, it's the public health. Well, first of all, we have to ask ourselves this: is public health actually the appropriate place to look at violence with firearms? That's the first thing you have to ask yourself, because does anything that doctors do, other than save people's lives, with trauma surgery and all that kind of stuff, but are we able to affect the social stuff that causes crime and murder and drug dealing and gang banging? Or is this a fantasy of the?
As public health, do they have you addressing drug dealers? I mean, drugs and drug dealers, is that another segment of the public health that they go after? I mean, do they slice off these segments of crime to take, or are they picking and choosing which segments of crime that they want to go after because of their agenda?
Well, I think they want to go. They go after the guns because that's the easy thing. It's really hard to go after criminals. It's really hard to go after gangbangers. So this is not really a public health problem. What this is a sociology problem, a criminology problem, an economics problem. It's a criminal justice problem. We have a revolving door criminal justice system. And so over the years, the crime rate has gone down up until very recently, and it's gone back up again with the COVID lockdowns. And wait a second, we let all the criminals out of jail, didn't we? Because we didn't want them to get COVID. So now you have all these criminals that were behind bars are now out. So, so do you blame the gun, or do you blame the policy of letting criminals out of jail early? And then letting them know that they're not going to spend time in jail. It's going to be a revolving system. Look at New York City. What are they doing there? Zero cash bail. So you could rob a bank, you get booked, and you walk out the door on your own recognizance saying, okay, come back for arraignment in 3 weeks.
I was bad, and I'm not going to rob a bank again, right? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. I promise, as a Boy Scout, hold the Boy Scout salute up, that I didn't won't rob any more banks.
I didn't know that robbing a bank was bad. I didn't know. So yeah, we'll be good about that.
I was going to say, when you go to the doctor, they ask if you have a gun, but they don't ask you if you have a bale of drugs under the bed or something. So they're not really searching for other things. They only want to know about the gun.
They only want to know about the guns. Yeah, that's in their questionnaire. They don't really ask you.
Maybe later they'll ask if you ride a motorcycle or something.
Right,
yeah,
and drink caffeine.
Gun bad, gun bad and criminal good. That's really what we're dealing with.
There's a whole lot of
unfortunately, that's the big problem that we're seeing right now, is that we're having to deal with the after effects of poor criminal
Yeah, so managing crime and managing the criminal and working on trying to decrease crime. So, Dr. John, can you stay for one more segment? And because I want to talk about pro-gun doctors that we can get or sign up for or find. So we'll be back with Dr. John Edeen, DRGO.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seppacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com.
Okay, we are back with Dr. John Edeen from Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership. Their website is drgo.us. So, Dr. John Edeen, this group of doctors is Well, they're shooting doctors. They're cool doctors. They do all kinds of Second Amendment advocacy and so much stuff. I know that the first time I met, you guys travel in packs when it comes to going to places like the Gun Rights Policy Conference and things like that. And it's pretty cool to see and hear your mission and what you do, and I really appreciate that. But one of the cool things that you do is that if somebody wants to have a pro-gun doctor, that you will hook them up with someone in their community so that they can have a doctor like we have. Huh?
It's cool like yours.
I'm telling you, our doctor is actually really, really pretty cool. He was telling, I went in just the other day, and he went in, he was telling me a story about how he was someplace and had to help somebody, and he was wearing his good shirt, and he knew his wife was going to be very angry at him if he got it all dirty. So he takes off his shirt, and the other person said, well, aren't you going to take off your gun too? And he's like, no, it's fine. So that's part of my doctor's story, is he's telling me gun stories about carrying and how he's carrying. So Dr. John, tell us, how does somebody connect via drgo.us?
Okay, so what we have is something called 2adoc.com, and it's a matching service like you described. And so if you're looking for a doctor, say you want an optometrist, so you go to 2adoc.com, or you can go to drgo.us and find the link to 2adoc.com, and you give us your information, where you live, what your zip code is, what kind of distance you're willing to travel, what kind of doctor you're looking for, and then we look in our database for a doctor that matches you. Okay. If we have one. Now, we don't have every kind of doctor for everything in every area. Mm-hmm. And all you healthcare professionals out there that are listening to this, you need to go to 2adoc.com to sign up as a provider, so that we can have patients, bring patients to you. Now, mm-hmm. It's a win-win, because the patients find a nice doctor and the doctor finds nice patients. And this is not a searchable database. So, the anti-gun people cannot, get online and go look at the doctor and dox them. Okay, so This is something that is between the patient and the doctor. We tell the patient, this is the doctor that in your area that's one of our participating doctors. There's no fee on either side for this either. It's free. It's a labor of love. Mm-hmm. And so this is it's a nice feature. And if you're looking for a two-way friendly doctor, this is the way to do it.
I just think doctors, that is so cool.
Yeah. So today, as I was talking to you earlier, I was driving back from hunting. I was duck mm-hmm. hunting down in South Texas, and the entire time that I was duck hunting, I had a SIG 365 XL with a Romeo Zero red dot clipped to the belt inside of my waders. Okay, so this is the kind of doctors that you will find at 2adoc.com. I've got a Benelli shotgun. I'm shooting, ducks. And by the way, we limited out both days, so we had a good bunch of. And I was shooting with two other doctors who were members of DRGO.
Nice.
So yes. So and in fact, one just retired not too long ago. He's he's an ophthalmologist, but he's a glaucoma specialist. He just retired. And my endocrinologist that I go to is also, he was there too. So it was three doctors out there hunting ducks, but I was the one I was carrying underneath my waders just in case, because you never know if you might get attacked by a duck.
You might. Yeah, I'm telling you, and I love that. I love that gun. The gun that you carry is the gun that I carry. I really like it.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal gun. Interestingly, this place that we were hunting is a freshwater reservoir. It's a mm-hmm. state park, and there were hog tracks all up and down behind where we were. We set up our blind. So having a pistol around isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because if the hogs are decide that they want to get a little ornery, nothing like a hollow point to the bean to stop an angry hog. It will definitely
to
do
get
the
a little
job.
ornery. People don't realize that hogs eat. They're carnivores. They will eat anything. And yeah, so if you are if we're missing a farmer, check for his boots in the pig pen. No, I mean it potentially is extremely dangerous when they decide that you are in their territory and you are in their space. They're not overly friendly about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also two-legged ones too that you never know too, because people can be stupid and do crazy things. This lake is very well known for bass fishermen, and bass fishermen don't always pay attention to the fact that there are people hunting with ducks nearby, and so there's a potential for conflict there. So who knows? That's why we need to be prepared. Of course, you want to de-escalate and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But still,
right.
You carry. You got to be careful. And you're going out. You're in a town that you've never been to. You don't know what part of town that you should or shouldn't go to. Now, fortunately, these are all kind of small South Texas towns, so there's not too big of a thing. But you just don't know. Somebody could walk in and want to rob the place. It's easy in, easy out, no problem. So you have to be prepared.
You are your own first responder in everything and everywhere you go. And
it's funny.
And
locally,
my two buddies noticed that I sat with my back away from the door, and I was facing the door.
And they're like, "Well, for a reason." Yeah,
funny,
go ahead, Rob.
In the U.S., we have the bank in the United States that's robbed the most, but they don't put a sign out that says it. That landmark.
It just is.
It just is. So it's if you happen to be there, there's a good chance you might get to see it in action.
So isn't that? And it is crazy that we have the bank that is robbed the most, because one would not think that rural Ohio is the place where. But there must be a really good escape.
It's close to the expressway, apparently. So
something, but I think there's a lot of banks close to the expressway. But when you're out and about doing your everyday thing, you definitely need to be prepared. And it comforts me that there are like-minded service providers. I mean, because there are things that we want to be able to tell our doctor. And there's things that we want from our optometrist that, isn't an everyday ask. I mean, I talked to my eye doctor about the fact that I need my glasses tuned to, and I hold my hand out and I'm like, to right about here. And he's like, okay, so am I tuning it to the back side or the front side? And I was like, okay, let's start down this path, right?
I've brought guns or blue guns with me to my optometrist too. So I guess we're not too far away from each other on that one.
Right, because I mean, there's that kind of stuff. If this is the life you live, then you need to live that life, and you need to be able to know that whoever is the person who is providing that service gets to provide the best service they can, and that they're not offended by it and they're not gasping by it and all of that. So Dr. John, thanks for coming on Eye on the Target Radio. Folks, the websites are drgo.us, and that one will also connect you to the 2adoc.com. So between those two, go hit them up, because you can be a supporting member of drgo.us without ever having to be a doctor. But you can also talk to your doctor and get them to sign up, because it's such a good service. Thanks, John. We'll be back right after this.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your Second Amendment rights are under attack like no other time in history, and the Second Amendment Foundation needs you to take action now. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have pledged to make taking away your Second Amendment rights a top priority through gun bans, gun confiscation, government regulations, and even a gun tax. They have aligned themselves with anti-gun activists like billionaire Michael Bloomberg and appoint radicals like Beto O'Rourke as the anti-gun czar. The fight begins now with your text of Protect 2A to 474747. Text Protect 2A to 474747 to pledge your support and become a Second Amendment first responder. Your right to own a gun and protect your family are on the line. Text Protect 2A to 474747 and join the fight to protect your Second Amendment rights. Text Protect 2A to 474747 to pledge your support and become a Second Amendment first responder.
take your hand as you lift your face. Rise and take your place.
Shooter standby.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
So, hey, folks, we are back, and let's talk constitutional carry, because right now there are a series of states that have constitutional carry. And do you know who they are? They are Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas. This is in alphabetical order, can you tell? Idaho, Kansas, Kentucky, Maine, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. So that's quite a stack of states that have constitutional carry. And so constitutional carry pretty much says that as long as you are not prohibited from being able to carry a gun for other reasons, you can carry a gun. And so the state will allow you to carry a gun. You're not restricted by the state. You're not restricted by that. Now there are new states that are starting to talk about it. They are passing it. They passed it in the House, or they passed it in the Senate, and it's moving around. And so what's the newest news, Rob?
Well, there's two states. Utah says that they introduced it last year, and then they're going to reintroduce it again. Their stuff starts January 19th, so they were going to reintroduce the bill. And they said for sure they were getting it this year, whether anybody knows it or not.
For sure. But they didn't get it last time, but for sure they're getting it this time.
Get it this time.
Right.
And Montana has changed some of their laws, and they're working on, among other things, they want to get this constitutional carry, but they also have taken away a lot of gun-free zones, especially in universities and stuff like this. So they say that the Supreme Court's Heller versus McDonald decision affirms the right to keep and bear arms, and it also shows that since the universities in Montana the land is owned by the people and the government, the state, that they can't stop the people from carrying a gun in those particular spots. So it's funny because they've got two new sections of the law, and the one is the purpose of this section 1 through 11 is to enhance the safety of people by expanding their legal ability to provide their own defense by reducing and eliminating government-mandated places where only criminals are armed and where citizens are prevented from exercising their fundamental right of self-defense. Well, there's a senator in... Okay,
I'm gonna want to rehash that again. So, okay.
But there's a senator in Nebraska who's saying that because of the
all the riots, all the stuff, right?
All the violence that was happening on January 6th, that Nebraska isn't handling it safely, and she's worried for her safety in the state house because they're not doing enough for her. So if Nebraska would pass this section 1
1 through 11, right? But
that would enhance her safety by her being able to actually.
But that's not what she's proposing. She's proposing that they need to prevent guns from coming into the Capitol, and she says, "I'm not anti-gun. She's just expressed her opinion for a need for change to make it to where there are no guns allowed in the Capitol." Now let's go back.
Her change was back for this 1 through 11 thing. She would have her own personal destiny in her pocket, and then she wouldn't have to deal with somebody else.
Let's go back and let's look at Montana now. Now that we see why Montana is so important to what's happening in Nebraska, Montana said to enhance the safety of people by expanding their legal ability to provide for their own defense. I mean, that's really the heart of it right there, is that you can, who's the first responder? You're your own first responder. And they absolutely call in the bill the craziness that says that there are currently government mandated places where only criminals are armed and the law-abiding gun owners are not. And so it's like, we get it. We definitely get it.
If you look at it, that covers almost every other place on the planet where somebody comes in and does harm to you, and because you're not allowed to have a gun. So if they would just all of them adopt the same rules, things would be so much smoother.
So nice. But let's
talk. There's so much common sense stuff that could go on. I mean, if you think about it, if the Supreme Court would just come out and say what shall not be infringed actually meant,
right,
that would free up a lot of people's time for other things.
But one of the things that I've just heard recently that came out that was in this world of anti-gun craziness that's starting to swim around. I feel like I'm swimming in a pool with scary things.
Well, there's a lot of craziness, and it's not just all anti-gun. It's everything.
One of the mindsets is you're law-abiding. So if you're a law-abiding gun owner, you abide by the laws. So they're going to write a law to say that you can't have this and you can't have that. So if you're a law-abiding gun owner, you're just logically going to go turn them in. So what's your issue? You say you're a law-abiding gun owner, we're just going to pass some more laws, and you'll continue to be a law-abiding non-gun owner of guns, gun owner, right? But that's their mindset, is that, all the law-abiding gun owners are going to just quietly roll over like my puppy and say, "Here, rub my belly."
Well, it's like the ones where they say if there was no guns, if they threw them all in the ocean, everybody would get along together. But
we wouldn't have any crime.
If you look back through history, before they had guns, they still hacked each other with swords and pikes. So we don't play well together with each other.
Right. I just want you to stay on your side of the fence. I'll stay on my side.
That guy over there is the problem. That's what everybody says, right?
Right. I want to be able to defend myself.
I'm normal and he's not.
Wait, have you guys seen Rob in action? He's normal. Normal.
Yep.
Right.
That's me.
Abby normal. something like that. But so pay attention to what's going on in Utah and in Montana. Montana has a unique mindset in a lot of the stuff that they do.
Well, and they just signed on as it's a free country, isn't it? And they want to stick with kind of that thing. As the people from the coast keep moving more into the big cities, they can try to molest that mindset, and so they're having a lot more problems in the large cities in Montana than they do in the rural areas. And most people will tell you, if you're in Texas or Idaho, you get the same thing. The big cities start to getting more and more liberal, and they want to start taking care of you.
And they have more strength then, so they have a bigger voting block and more strength.
We're here to help. So
you just sit there on your sofa, watch TV, and we'll feed you and clothe you and shelter you and take care of you, right? And it doesn't go so good. It really just in the long run does not go so good. I'm not a fan of that. I think that we as Americans need to get off our sofa, get off our keisters, go to work and take care of ourselves, take care of our families, and that the government their job should be to get out of our way. not to be in our way.
Michigan, on the other hand, they banned open carry of guns inside the state capitol. So,
well, that's because their governor is not real popular with a lot of people, and so I think she's concerned.
The governor was doing a lot of bizarre things, and I thought that it was because she was trying to get the spot of the VP spot. Mm-hmm. I mean, it looked like she was like doing jumping jacks with a look at me. Hey, I'm over here.
I think she was the runner-up in consideration.
She didn't get they didn't see her.
She didn't get the nod, right? But
I mean, maybe I don't know what the deal is, but she tried really hard, but she wasn't. But it didn't work out for her. There's not any new news on the NRA on any of that stuff that we can see right now.
It's not.
Some of the stuff is kind of slow moving. I mean, they come out with a big ta-da, look at us, and then you got a couple of months of waiting until
the wheels of government move slowly. The wheels of government move extremely slowly.
Grind fine and move slow and grind fine.
Well, there's a lot of that. So just coming over the AppsLens app or the Facebook app is the fact that somebody said his gun shops in his area have ammo. They just only sell it to new gun owners. And think about this. I mean, the gun shops are businesses, and so their job is to sell you a gun.
Well, I mean, my local gun shop has they have ammo that they hold in the back. So if you buy a pistol, if they have a pistol, they'll have at least one box of bullets. There's no sense of buying a new gun if there's no ammo at all.
Right.
So it isn't so much that you got to be a brand new gun owner. You just have to be a brand new their gun owner
because their purpose is to sell guns, and they can't sell guns if there's nothing to shoot in them.
Right. So that's the thing. I mean, it's not like if they have a case of ammo coming in, they're not saving all of it, but they were just they save a couple boxes for whatever so that they can you want to buy a gun. I have a gun
because you got to keep in mind, part of what we're up against is we've got to keep gun shops in business. And I know that sounds crazy, but with the government restrictions and the government regulations,
if you lose your gun shop, where are you going to buy your stuff from? Because you got to do that paperwork, you got to do the background checks, you need them as much as they need you,
and you need them healthy. So when we be back, we'll talk about other things.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, KRMAradio.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
To you about Car Arms. Car Arms is the sponsor of our show for Eye on the Target Radio, and you need to go to their website, KAHR.com, and check out all of the various firearms that they have. But they are not just, it's not just Car Arms, it's Tommy Gun, there's
Magnum Research, you could get the BFR, their biggest, finest revolver. You can get the Desert Eagle platform pistols. They have baby Desert Eagles if you want a more normal size gun. The car pistols also, they make them from a polymer micro all the way up to full size guns. So there's one for everybody.
And
you got two hands, don't you? Get two.
Something like that.
Take two, they're small.
Yep. So, something like that. So, let's move on to talk about the Supreme Court again. So the Firearms Policy Coalition, FPC, the Firearms Policy Coalition, that is another organization that when we talk about belonging to various organizations, we say, belong to the NRA, belong to the Second Amendment Foundation, belong to your state organization. And then on top of that, I would say Firearms Policy Coalition is another one that is well worth your investment, well worth your money.
If there's 2.5 million new gun owners, supposedly, if everybody just sent them $10,
we'd be in good shape.
Be in good shape.
Yes.
And what $10 is going to get you? What?
Not a box of ammo.
Quarter of a tank of gas.
Right.
Yeah, 10 bullets.
If you just sent them the cost of a box of ammo, whatever your box of ammo is, that would be amazing.
Well, you know how we had talked about in the past that the Supreme Court works on they look for a platform that's going to give them a wide-reaching stance. When they make a decision, it's going to cover more than just the one little pinpoint that they're dealing with right there. And this thing from the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Corlett is one where the New York doesn't allow you to take your gun out for a walk or to go to the range or do different things with it.
It's so restrictive in the state of New York that if you are a 3-gunner, you cannot go to another state to play. You can't take your gun there and come back with it.
Right, and they say, well, you have to have a license, but you can't hardly get that license. And so they said normal people don't meet those qualifications. So this is a good case that could prove, the court would say, that everybody can just take their gun and go to the range or go to another state and shoot, or go to your Uncle Jim's house for whatever Thanksgiving dinner and shoot up a car or whatever you want to do.
Because they have some crazy crazy ammo rules too. I mean, between New York, New Jersey, some of those where you can
New
buy.
Jersey was one where you could buy the hollow points and take them home, but if you took them to the range, you couldn't bring them back home. Or something.
So they get to make one trip to someplace, and that's pretty much it. And if you move from one house to another house, they don't get to move. You have to take them to the range and shoot them up.
Yep, it makes for you want to make sure your ammo supply is in good stead, I guess.
You got to deplete, or you've got to own a second house for a while, and so you buy and put it in the new house, and you shoot from the old house, and then okay, now dear, we can move. We couldn't move last week.
Went in two households for a little while.
Right? Why? Just because of the ammo stuff.
I still got some ammo stuff.
Right? Can't you see that? So, yeah. So there is somebody who's just come across saying people here in the South tend to forget how good we have it sometimes, and that really is the case. Where you're sitting in your state saying, "My state doesn't have these rules. I'm good." Well, we talked to Teresa. If you
watch some of the stuff that's going on with the new president, though, some of the restrictive stuff that California and New Jersey has, they want to push it. They're going to spread the love, and we're all going to get some of that. So pay attention because it's coming.
Exactly, and so we were talking to Teresa Einacker recently, and one of the things that I just heard her say on a different venue was the fact that she doesn't leave New Jersey. Because if she does, those restrictive gun laws are going to go everywhere else. It's not going to stay in New Jersey, so she's going to stay and fight. And that really is the case, is that to keep it from coming to a town near you, we need those people, and we need to support the organizations that are holding it down in those places. So,
it's funny, we talk about the fact that like the FPC and Second Amendment Foundation, but how many people like Teresa and that are there, and they try to hold a regular job, but they're also doing this full time. I mean, they don't have a way to collect money on the backside to help them with some of their expenses and the traveling. Sometimes you got to go somewhere and stay overnight. You have to maybe eat out every day for a week because you don't have home. You're not home, right. or you don't have time when you get home or something. All this stuff adds up, and it comes right out of their pockets. So you have to say thank you to these people when you meet them, because
there's a lot of people who say that they have a job to support their advocacy habit, because it sort of is true. And the thing that you can do is in those restrictive states is donate to their state organizations, because they can help offset some of those costs.
And I know so many people who say, I used to shoot a lot before I got into this, and then that took up my time, and so I don't have the time to go shoot. I don't have the money to go shoot because I'm using that money for other things to try to be. I got to be at the State House. I got to do this. I got to be there.
You're picking. I know DC Project. I'm picking up the tab for me to fly to DC, right. And what's the room, and what's that expense, and oh, by the way, they're doing a fundraiser in Missouri. No, I guess I need to go to Missouri. They did an event in Texas. I guess I'm going to Texas. It's that type of a thing. But if you are a podcast listener, if you're a radio listener, and you're a Second Amendment listener, you're going to start to hear who those movers and shakers are. You're going to hear the organizations that they've come from. And so the best thing that you can do is help those organizations to be able to help those people to continue to fight the fight. And every little bit, every little donation really, really it really helps them.
Right. I mean, like I said, a lot of these people they got a hobby that keeps them on the air. So it's like, well, your hobby is maybe motorcycles and shooting. Theirs is talking on the radio
or podcasting or videography or something. I mean, you hear the ads for Charlie Cook, and shout out to Charlie. But Charlie's goal is to go to every state in the United States and interview somebody for Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Well,
that doesn't happen for free.
Right, exactly. But he makes it, and he figures out how, and when he goes, he kind of does a trifecta to hit stuff, but you watch it.
Try to get a couple of them either on the way or there or back or something. So, but yep, it's a tangled web we weave.
I'm telling you. So there's a variety of new cases that are working their way.
Even surviving the aftermath. Premier Firearms training with a range master certified instructor.
I ran over the clock.
And hosts
I forgot.
the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com. Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Dan Perkins with your songs and stories for soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day. If you're a veteran with a disability, are you interested in a program that could give you a free home? Homes for Our Troops is a privately funded 501c3 nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans to enable them to rebuild their lives. These homes restore some of the freedom and independence our veterans sacrificed while defending our country and enable them to focus on their family and recovery. Since its inception in 2004, nearly 90 cents of every dollar has gone directly to the program to serve veterans. HFOT builds these homes where the veterans choose to live and continues its relationship with the veterans after the home delivery to assist them in rebuilding their lives. For more information, go to their website, www.hfotusa.org, and see if you can qualify for the home of your dreams. This has been your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day.
Okay, well, I run right up and into and over the commercial because I was so tight. I don't hardly do that. I'm pretty pretty careful about the clock and didn't do well on that one at all.
That one.
Something.
That was good radio. We were going right.
I was like, where'd it go? Wait, what's that? So we were talking, about groups and people and what you're doing and how you're doing it and those who are fighting the good fight. And I want you to hear another piece about those who are supporting and fighting the good fight. And that is that something came over, and it was a Twitter, and it said that from a White House source, the NRA, Turning Point USA, and the Patriot Guard Riders were used as the groups that were, if one of the military that was in D.C. belonged to one of those groups, they were vetted, and then some of them were sent out of D.C. because of it. But they're saying it was the NRA.
Extremists, if they belong to the NRA, the Turning Point USA, or Patriot Guard?
Potential extremists because they belong to Turning Point USA, the NRA, or Patriot Guard Riders. So I want you, so you're like, does that have any semblance of credibility? Don't know, because it came from a source. It didn't come from a published story.
I'm seeing other things where they're saying that the current administration now is starting to try to enhance the reference of this extremist and what do they call them? Domestic terrorists. So it could be some group that you deal with in your state may make you a domestic terrorist by just being part of that.
Well, I couldn't verify that specifically, but I did verify this. A Florida congresswoman has proposed legislation titled Security Clearance Improvement Act of 2021, and it's there, and it says that people who are looking to have their federal security clearances renewed have to disclose if they participated in the January 6th rally in Washington and any Stop the Steal events, or if they knowingly engaged in activities conducted by an organization or a movement that spreads conspiracy theories. Let's just say QAnon, but it could be the NRA or Turning Point USA or Patriot Guard Riders. Anybody who forwards what they say is conspiracy theories and false information about the U.S. government. So freedom of speech has just met freedom to be employed, because they're going to lock down who you socialize with, what you read, who you are with, and so that's really a piece of this. So know that it is called the Security Clearance Improvement Act of 2021, and that is indeed verified. So there are rumors abound, but those rumors, there's some semblance, there's some kernel of truth or fact in them that is extremely, extremely concerning. And so they are going to be looking at people's security clearance. So it means their job. So if they
pretty soon, if you were watching a certain video on YouTube or one of those, it's going to affect your employment status, right?
Potentially. And then if you have a business that they have deemed that your business has an issue, they're deplatforming you. So we've lived through a couple different trials of trying to make the banks not use your business, not take your business. So you cannot use PayPal to pay for guns or ammo. You cannot use some companies' credit cards to buy guns. They will revoke your credit card. Then there are now companies who say, we will not provide banking services for a business that provides a legal service of selling guns. We won't provide banking services for them because of that. Now websites are saying that we will not provide web hosting and web platforms. So I can
remember when you used to have to just wear a shirt and shoes to get service, and now it's there's so many more checkpoints on this.
It's really, if you're not scared, you're not paying attention. That's really where this is, because it's just headed to
I think a lot of it's going to drive us back to cash is what's going to happen.
There is that. I mean, it's tracing.
Take that from us.
Right. And make it to where all they're going to do is that chip that they inserted in your wrist,
right?
You know, and you're going to hold that up to the window to get your McDonald's cheeseburger. Then they're going to say, you had 3 cheeseburgers this month. Your cholesterol's too high. No more cheeseburgers for you.
No more cheeseburger. I got to switch over to fish or something. Right?
I don't know. Not fried. You got to get baked fish. Try making a baked fish sandwich, right? No, I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I would have thought that this is ridiculous. I would have thought that deplatforming people when you take people off of Twitter. Okay, so Donald Trump was annoying on Twitter, but you could tune him out.
Not just Trump who lost his spot, though. At that time, they said 35% of the influencers
on Twitter,
on that platform were taken off. So if you had a pretty big audience, they just automatically took you down.
Think about the United States is based on freedom of speech, freedom to practice your own religion, freedom of information, so you could actually see and hear and read stuff. I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to agree with what it is you're reading or spouting, but to take it away and make it to where Under Cover of Darkness is the only time you can read that book, does that not concern people?
It should, as to whether they're paying attention or they don't understand what the links are to it or not. I mean,
I'm just watching piece by piece, and in the beginning, how long is it going
to be before you're hidden in somebody else's basement, like Anne Frank?
Right. I think she lived in the attic. She didn't live in the basement.
Whichever. You
got the gist.
Upstairs, downstairs, you're
hidden.
You may be the downstairs neighbor this time.
But when it first started to happen, it was like, you're kidding me. This cannot be. And I looked at it and I was like, this is over the top. This is extremely concerning. And then as I talked to people, most of them were like, yeah, he needed to be shut up. It's not a problem. But it is, because it's not just one. When they start to take websites down, they took Parler down. We've all heard that. But they took down the AR-15 platform because they were chatting on it. So there are so many people on Facebook and on some of the other pages that are like, when you're scared to say something for fear that government is watching and there will be a repercussion.
As soon as you start watching what you say, now you're being censored. Whether
they've won.
Yeah, whether they're doing it or you're doing it, it's through fear you're doing it.
Right.
So you try to stay center of the road so that they don't take your whole website down. And in the meantime, you're moving more and more their direction.
Because you know that you can't step you can't step to the right. If you're not scared, you're not paying attention. And people ask me, what do we do? How do you fight back? What is that? And I don't know what you do. I mean, somebody says, am I in North Korea? We need to stand up. The devil is in control. We need to take a stand. But the question is, who are you standing against? Where is it? What is it? And we're so used to it's a law or it's a mandate or it's a directive. This is covert things that are just happening, and they're happening from all over at the same time. So it almost feels like we're encircled.
Well, and the thing is, there should actually be protections already in the law to keep this from happening. So it's like, when it happens, there should be suits filed, and that stuff should be hitting the court.
Well, except that there are protections. Let's just go to the protections that we know, the Second Amendment ones. The protection of the PLCAA, the Protection of the Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, said that if a gun company manufactured a gun and that gun worked as it was designed to work, so it functioned and it didn't It didn't go full auto when it was
didn't blow up or didn't backfire and shoot your eye out or whatever.
Then the manufacturer could not be sued if it was used in an unlawful act. Well, except that they have allowed Bushmaster to be sued. So what's happening? So the laws that are in place don't apply to us second-class, Second Amendment citizens. And somebody says freedom of speech has limits. It does, and your freedom of expression ends at the beginning of my nose, kind of thing, right? But there's a spot when you start to silence everyone and you start to make it to where you can't have a website, you can't have this, you can't have that. Those things, there is a spot where it's legal and it should be allowed. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit ProjectChildSafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, we are back, and let me tell you, we have gone down a rabbit hole on a couple different things because so many of our listeners sent us notes and things. So I am busy looking up Eugene Gladstone O'Neill and what his writings are, and you are looking up whether or not you're allowed to holler fire in a crowded movie theater.
And it comes out that yes, you are. That U.S. versus Schneck says that you can say whatever it is, violent things, and there's all kinds of different. Let's see.
Okay, but so it pretty much said that there was no restriction on your First Amendment right, and so you had the right of free speech. So there was that, but there's also three different cases. So the U.S. versus Schneck,
right?
The
Frowork versus the U.S. And then
Brandenburg versus Ohio.
And in Brandenburg, they actually said that the even speech advocating violence by members of the Ku Klux Klan is protected under the First Amendment, unless the speech is directed to incite or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action.
So there is that. So we really do have law on our side, but it doesn't seem to matter simply because nobody's challenging it. The courts won't take it. So right now it is, what comes to mind is that old saying that says that, you know, if a man, how does it say it? If a man says something and there's no one to hear him say it, is he still wrong? Is that it? Is that how that goes? Because it's like, if you can't get anybody to hear it, are you right? Are you wrong? Are you just like shouting into the woods to yourself? And that's the ridiculousness of where we stand right now.
Well, another thing, we were talking about the
PLCAA.
Okay, something, whatever that is. There's a lot of other states that have preemption status in different things.
So let's talk about what preemption is, because it's a legal word. We're learning so many legal words here on Eye on the Target Radio.
Well,
we've learned standing. Now we're going to learn preemption.
In Ohio, the gun stuff has preemption, and no city can pass a law that's any more stringent than the state law as a whole. So before, there was a patchwork of different laws of some different. One had a gun control, others had a points system, different things like this.
So you could go to Columbus with your gun, but you couldn't go to Cleveland with your gun.
Or you could go to Toledo with your gun, but you couldn't live in Toledo with that gun because it had too many points on it and stuff. So there was a lot of bizarre things that were hard to tell. Preemption settled that out, and they actually put some teeth in it so that if you fought them, they said they were right, and you had to pay the bills anyhow. So any time that they've tried it so far, it's held up. But the anti-gunners are pushing at these preemption things. Right now, there's 3 different states.
Florida, Oregon, and Washington are all trying to, and they all have Democrat authors, and they're all trying to repeal preemption within their states.
So in Florida, it's Senate Bill 672. In Portland? This in Senate Bill
Oregon
535, and Seattle area is House Bill 1313. So pay attention to these coming.
So elections have consequences, and right now, your elected officials in Florida, in Oregon, and in Washington are trying to take preemption away. So I don't believe that Oregon and Washington are real heavy in a lot of pro-gun. They're not necessarily as Charlie Cook phrases it, they're not necessarily part of Free America. You know, it's a little more restrictive in your communities, and you have to know what's right and know what's wrong and know where all of that is. And so this is just going to make that take more away, make that worse. And so there is that. But Washington also has another bill that's coming out.
They're working on a Washington State carry ban and a magazine bill ban. So pay attention to these. It's SB 5078.
Okay, so
and SB 5038. So apparently there's 2 bills.
2 bills. So they're to give you a state carry ban. Washington State. So the carry ban. What is the carry ban about?
I don't know. It doesn't.
Okay, so the magazine restrictions is one, and so sometimes it's hard.
They're voting on that tomorrow or something. It's going in the committee tomorrow on the 25th. It says, and
okay, interesting. So there's all of these different things that are happening to all of your states, my states, the other states. One of the things that if you are a gun owner, if you are pro-gun, you need to know who your elected officials are, and then they need to know who you are. So how do you do that? You need to write to them politely, but you need to take a stand. You need to tell them where you are, what you think, and where they are. And then the second thing is you need to arrange to meet them so that they can see your face. They know you by face, by name, because then you will start to get to know who they are, and they will reach out to you, or you can reach out to them. And because they're going to hear the people who talk to them. And so if you don't bother to talk to them, they're not going to hear you.
They don't know how normal you are either.
Well, there's that. But, they're looking at their constituents, and if they're not hearing anything, they're like, there's nothing wrong with this. Nobody's pushing back, because a politician's job is to get reelected. We really think that their job is to represent us. No, their job is to represent those people who help them get reelected. So what are you doing to interact with them so that they understand that you are either going to help them get reelected, or you're going to help whoever is their opponent get elected? Because those are their two triggers. Those are the two things that get their attention.
Right.
So somebody just came across saying that they were going to get an Abrams tank. I think is it not legal to have one? The government just will not pay you to use it.
Finding one that's for sale is the key.
Right.
There's a lot of things you can own. It's just finding somebody who wants to sell you one.
And for your budget. But I think that the government says that you're allowed to own these things. They're just not going to pay you for use. So when they have a war, they're not going to call up and rent your tank.
You can have a battleship, but they're not necessarily going to use it and pay you for the opportunity to use it.
I'll tell you, in our state, I mean, in a lot of states, they have the word has gone away, where they are the unofficial militia. That's the word. So, and I'm sure right now just saying that is just got me flagged for 5 things. But they have an unofficial militia written into the state codes that say that they have a militia, and then they have the military, and they have all of this. But then they scoop up the rest of us and say they have an unofficial militia. And so if your state is attacked by other states or chipmunks or I don't know what, but if your state is attacked, they can call on you to help defend this state. I just have one question, and especially now with the ammo shortage, tell me which caliber gun I need to have so that I can come answer the call, because it's going to be Ohio's job to supply the ammo.
I'm sure it's going to be the standard 223, 308, and 3006 that they've had for years, and 45 automatic.
Okay, I'm covered. I'm good. I got it. I got that covered. And I think we're in good shape. But think about that, because look up your state. See if they have a militia and an unofficial militia in the definition. In Ohio, they modified that. They rewrote it in 1999. And so it's not like it was from the 1800s. It was 1999. So, folks, thanks for tuning in to OpsLens. Thanks for tuning in to Eye on the Target Radio. If you're listening via the radio, thanks for that. Facebook, all of those different ways to catch us. And if you want to go back and catch an archive of an old show, Eye on the Target Radio, EYE, eyeonthetargetradio.com. And remember, check out our sponsor, Car Arms, KAHR Arms. See you next week.